Hello everyone, my name is Ashwant and in this video we are going to talk a few necessary concepts which will help you prepare for clearing AZ 900 exam. After knowing these concepts, you should be well equipped to tackle most of questions related to these topics. These topics are selected from the official exam study guide for the AZ 900 exam. So, uh, Based on this guide, there are different sections in which Microsoft gives particular weightage for the group of concepts. For example, functional groups describe cloud concepts is one major section which will hold 25 to 30% of weightage in the exam. So in this section, there are topics like describe cloud computing, describe the shared responsibility model, and so on. So in this video, we're going to have a Q&A model in which we'll first have a question related to that topic, and we'll try to discuss the answer for it so that we remember these topics. Once such knowledge is acquired, we can try to attempt the practice Q&A questions or practice multiple choice questions, and these set of knowledge will help in that practice. So let's get started. So the first thing to know is what is cloud computing. So cloud computing is a concept in which we access the compute, storage, and other hardware uh, accessories related to computing remotely, means through internet. And the user who is accessing that will not need to manage that, in the sense he need not procure it, nor he need to maintain the power and backup of that power, and such management related activities will not be part of uh, user need not to take such activities. So all this, and again, these resources which will be provided by the cloud provider is distributed geographically. So, so that's what cloud computing means. Next, we'll go through what is a shared responsibility model. We can say describe what the shared responsibility model means. It means Azure as a cloud service provider takes care of the security of the cloud while Azure customers are responsible for the security in the cloud, which means that as an Azure platform, they will have the security practices and security. They will make sure that there are no security vulnerabilities left on the web page of the Azure. But once Azure provides its customers to say access the resources and host their software, and the kind of security that needs to be taken care inside the software needs to be done by the Azure customers. Means if there is any vulnerability within your, let's say, hosted website, it will not be responsibility of the Azure. So the responsibility of security is shared between Azure and the Azure's user. That's what shared responsibility model means. So the next topic is define cloud models, including public, private, and hybrid. So the first thing is, it tells that there are three cloud models, that is public, private, and hybrid. So we'll see what each cloud models means. So the based on the how the cloud is controlled or accessible, based on that criteria, the cloud can be classified into these three types. Public cloud is something which the resources, or like the compute and storage, is accessible to general public through a public network called internet. So, and this is making available by different models like pay-per-use, and which different charging models we will see. So basically, public cloud is defined as services offered by the cloud service providers or third-party providers to general public who can purchase them. So we will understand it better once we know what private cloud is. The private cloud is a model in which the cloud infrastructure, even though it is remote, it is accessible only within a private network. Means it can be like a big organization, which is like any software company or something, which will have a different or geographically located regions of office, and there is a private cloud in one such location, and the people in other locations can access it, given that they are part of the VPN or the private network. So this cloud will not be accessible to the public outside, and anyone cannot access it. Only the people within that organization can access it. So that is called private cloud. So in case if organization wants to put some of their applications in public cloud and some of the applications in private cloud, and such model where uh, different part of apps run on different kind of clouds, uh, we call that model as hybrid cloud. Here, let's say a certain part of their applications like content delivery network, part of their web page runs on a public cloud, while the major accessibility part of the web page runs in the private cloud, and we call that as a hybrid cloud. So that's where microservices concepts comes in. So if there are microservices, few of the microservices can run in private cloud and few can run in the public cloud, and such architecture is called as hybrid cloud. So Azure can also test you on so what does it's also important to like have examples, means what part of what are the kind of hybrid cloud services available on Azure. This can also be tested as part of this point in the Azure exam. So the next topic is identifying the appropriate use cases for each model. So they can explain a situation and tell where does this cloud model fit in, whether it is in public, private, and hybrid. So once we know what these three things are, we should be able to identify the use cases. Or they can also give a suggestive question like, if this is a use case, what is the best cloud model that user can opt for? So that will be the criteria that will be checked as a part of this point. So the next topic is describe the consumption-based model. Means it's what does consumption-based model is. So we're going to consume a lot of Azure services, and you'll be billed only for the used set of services. So going into more details, so there is something called consumption-based price, means you are charged only for what you use. In case if you're not using particular service, you'll not be charged. So this model, there is another name for it, which is pay as you go. There is another kind of model where the price is fixed, means you buy a VM or any service, uh, irrespective of your usage, because the amount of price that you'll be paying is fixed. So this will be helpful if your usage is a lot. This you can calculate based on your usage, and you can calculate how much which is the better option. If their usage is sporadic and it's not consistent, it will be good to go select pay as you go as a model for charging. But if the usage is very consistent, there is no much point in doing pay as you go, because there won't be much savings. Then fixed price will be a better choice. So that choice on which model to go has to be made by the user, and Azure provides both of the model. So this point asks for the user to that he knows there are different pricing models available within Azure, and user also needs to know the different pricing models which is pay-as-you-go, reserved instances, spot instances, and fixed cost models. So reserved instances are much more costlier than the fixed cost models, which takes more priority, and the exactly opposite of that is spot instances. Spot instances will be the will not have much Azure orchestration priority, means the consistency and the service level agreement for the spot instances are less, is low compared to other models where, but in the spot instances the price is also low. So because if there are any services which where you want to optimize the cost, um, we can go for spot instances and run those services on it. So there is a concept of spot VMs, which will help save cost for the customers once they don't need much of um, high priority service. So the next topic is high availability and scalability. What high availability means, Azure as a service, as a cloud computing infrastructure service, gives us gives us assurance that the service that we own or the resources that we have will continue to function in any unforeseen circumstances. Means if a particular resource hosted in a data center goes down because of some malfunctioning of the center or something, there is a redundancy, and the backup VM will come into uh, the picture, and it'll give us a sense of high availability. And scalability is based on the amount of traffic we might need to increase the amount of computing resources, and that can be dynamically asked for or dynamically created, and um, be provided to us by Azure. And such concept of dynamically asking for resources and then freeing the resources is called scalability within cloud. And the next topic is reliability and predictability. Means so once we know that we're going to use this for um, such a duration of time, we can predict the costs that will be incurred. Also, like Azure provides the cost calculators and things like that. So they don't to say that once you calculate it and it will be that. It will not be a surprise bill or something. So if you tell Azure what is your usage, you should get your costs for it. And that's what predictability means, the predictability of the cost. So the next topic is the benefits of security and governance in the cloud. So we might be running some applications which will need certain security and governance clearance or certain um, role-based privileges to be given to certain number of certain users. We can manage those governance or access privileges by creating a policies. So it enables users to create and assign policies related to security access, and such features are present, which enables to have a better governance in the cloud. So basically, which gives the facilities to add the users into different groups, and within that groups, you can specify what they can access, what they cannot access, and those kind of access controls are present. That's what benefits of security and governance in the cloud means. So the next topic is describe the benefits of manageability in cloud disk and also cloud service types. So once the kind of service that we get from the cloud can be categorized into different types. So that those types are IaaS, which is infrastructure as a service, EaaS, which is platform as a service, SaaS, which is software as a service. So we're going to discuss basically each of these in detail, and there will most probably in every exam there will be a question related to this. Um, so we'll go through first what IaaS means. IaaS or IaaS means, which is infrastructure as a service. So when a particular service is offered as an IaaS or as, um, what we will have is a just raw hardware which will need a particular software layer to be installed on it to be make it functional. For example, we will get a VM when which the OS needs to be installed by the user itself. These make sense in case if there is any custom OS built by the customer, and that OS is not available in the cloud, then customer can procure infrastructure as a service and try to install the operating system on that raw machine and run the infrastructure. So, as we can say, as the definition says, is a type of cloud computing service that offers essential compute, only the essential compute, storage, and networking resources. So there is no need to like install the drivers of the networking resources, but you need to install any application layer, or as I said, we might need to install the operating system, but there is no need to install BIOS or some hardware specific software layer need not be installed. Those will be given as a service to us, and then we will have to figure out the way in which we can utilize those hardware. But platform as a service is a one layer higher than the IaaS, which is it will have the operating system installed by it, but there won't be any application layer. I mean, you will have an operating system installed, but you might not have services like, let's say, for example, Microsoft Office or Outlook, or any application that you want to install that you might not have any default web server software. Those things will not be installed in platform as a service, but you might need to install it and then um, deploy it. So that's what. So this is one layer high. You will have the underlying software ready on it, and then you will have to utilize, deploy your own application and run it. And they always try to test by telling Azure Search is a service offered by Microsoft Azure, and which category does this belong to, like IaaS, PaaS, or SaaS. So that is the area in which we need to focus while learning these three categories, like what are given a particular service in Azure, to which category that it belongs to. So, so that is the expectation in these topics. So before diving into those examples and questions, let's get what these means. So now we saw what an IaaS means and PaaS means. And the last layer is what a SaaS means, software as a service. So here on top of a platform, there is an application layer also built by the cloud provider himself, which means there is no need for any user to do any kind of software install before using it. The applications are ready and they are, you just need to use those applications, maybe by creating a username or some giving a account detail, I mean getting your personal details or something, and you can start using it. There is no need of any software installation. For example, you can start using, say, uh, Outlook or Outlook on the web page by just having your email ID created by your admin, and you can start using it. So as an end user of that application, you need not install any software. So any service where you do need, you are getting an application layer without installing any software, you should be able to classify it as SaaS. So if you are presented with any service to classify it whether it is IaaS, PaaS, or SaaS. First, you can check for SaaS, means whether this application fits into SaaS. Means you can ask question whether the real application for running this application, does user need to install something. If the answer is no, then it should most probably fit into PaaS. For again, you need to check in the past, does user need to install the underlying platform? If the answer is no, then it forms, it falls into PaaS bucket. Again, if you think, yeah, user needs to install something, then it falls into IaaS bucket. So that's how we can identify any service which section that it belongs to. So this covers I think almost one section of uh, the criteria required for this exam. And in the next videos, we will look at few more topics related to this. Thank you very much.